What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. It is episode 655 of The O Show. We are presented by Jack O'Hara TV. Head on over to that YouTube channel. Like, comment, and subscribe at Jack O'Hara TV. We have Mr. Frank Sidoris in the house here at Blue Wire Studios live in Las Vegas, Nevada at the Wynn Hotel. I'm glad we're finally able to do this, man.
I know, finally.
Finally.
Couple tours in and I'm here.
Couple tours. You had your quick 3-week tour, all over the place in the States. Mm-hmm. We were supposed to do this, like a month ago, and you were sick, and we had to reschedule.
Yeah, I'm so glad it worked out. That was ridiculous. But yeah, it's been easy. I've done a couple just low-impact tours, and I'm back home for a couple weeks, and then I'm back to Europe. I go to Amsterdam for one show with Metallica on the 19th.
That's worth it.
Yeah, it's funny going in and out. I've never done that in the decade and change I've been touring. I've never done just a one-off, but for Metallica, let's do it. You know?
How often do you say no to tours like that? Or just like, it's not worth it. But like Metallica, it's like, yeah, I'll go open for Metallica.
Yeah, no, I mean, usually everything just kind of works out. You know, you never really just say no, but this is one of those like, all right, whatever it takes, we got to make it work. So,
oh yeah, even when you're just tired and burnt out, you're like, I don't want to. Oh, Papa Head's going to be there. Lars is going to be there. Okay, yeah, I'll come hang.
And I think this was all a direct result of the Taylor Hawkins tribute. That's why we're doing this Metallica thing, because Wolf did the tribute. Lars was there, and he saw Wolf, and he's like, you got to open for the next tour. It's going to be like a 2-year tour. I know it sounds crazy, but they do 2 gigs a week. And we've played with Aerosmith and Guns and all sorts of bands, but their style's usually like 2 gigs, day off, or Aerosmith does like 1 show, 2 days off. 1 show, 2 days off. Metallica is Thursday and Saturday. Twice a week. That's it. So that's going to spread over 2 years. And it's going to be sporadic and very interesting to route it for our band, right? You got to do gigs in between. So
the younger folk.
Right, yeah. Right? We'll be fine. But yeah, it's a whole thing, dude. It's touring's really interesting. You know, because recently we even played, was it Anaheim? And instead of going from like Spokane, Washington, Seattle, Reading, and just making your way down the coast, we go, I think it was Spokane, Reading, Anaheim, Tempe, Vegas, Reno. It makes no sense. So it's a tough job.
All the random spots. I feel like those are where like the best touring stories take place, though, in those random small cities.
Oh, dude, big time. Like I'm a huge. I walk all the time. I'm always exploring the cities, and I love finding a cool small town that actually has like a culture. Like even though Charleston, South Carolina, it really isn't a small town by any means. It's just one of those cities that I don't think everyone realizes is amazing. You know.
Yeah. Oh, laid back. You got the
so
beach.
Cool. Amazing food and coffee and experience and historical value, stuff like that. But I'm from Vegas, born and raised, and I get so almost bitchy when I go to small towns where there's nothing to do. I get so like, whatever.
Oh, especially in the Carolinas, like it's so laid back. Everybody's so slow, taking their time. Mm-hmm. We're like, being from Vegas, I'm originally from Jersey, like right outside Manhattan. So like that go, go, go mentality was always there. Like there's people at green lights not driving. I'm like, drive. What are you doing?
I'm with you there, 100%.
Let's go.
Yeah, I think I need to know there's something around me happening, like just a bustling city of some sort. Like it feels good for me. And then when I'm in if I'm surrounded by trees, I don't feel comfortable.
Really?
It's a weird thing. I'm okay with it, obviously. I experience it all the time, but I love knowing like I'm in Chicago or I'm going to play a city like that or, London or something like, if you're those off the beaten path cities can be awesome and you find some cool stuff, but some of them are just a little like too sleepy for me, I
feel like there's certain cities like Chicago, it's always rowdy. Philly, always rowdy.
Big time.
New York, always rowdy. Mm-hmm. LA, you got to mix, right? But like, there's certain places, like if you go down to the Carolinas or even, I guess Nashville could be pretty rowdy now these days.
Nashville,
especially in the country scene, but I don't know what it's like for rock concerts.
Oh, we did our last album out there, and the legendary venue, the Ryman, is where the Grand Ole Opry started. And that's cool. Like, I mean, anybody can play there. It's not specific to one, country genre, but like the gigs we've played in Nashville are nuts. And it's a great hockey town too.
That's right.
Nashville Predators, like it's awesome.
Yeah, we were talking about before the Golden Knights out here being just 4 or 5 years new. Like you being out here, born and raised, you finally have an authentic Las Vegas sports team to root for.
And it's also a team that's it wasn't built with superstars. It was a bunch of people that people just kind of whatever didn't even think about in the National Hockey League, and then they came together. So they're definitely the sum of their parts. Like, it's not, they don't have a Connor McDavid, they don't have that one superstar guy. It's a bunch of guys who make the superstar team. It's very cool. And after the tragedy in Vegas, it was that same season. That was their first season. It was so special, really uniting the city, and we all love them. So season 6, and here we go. I'm hoping. I mean, going to playoffs in a couple weeks.
Stanley Cup playoffs, man. There's nothing like it. It's crazy. I'm sure there's going to be a movie about that one day with everything that
has to be, right?
So that was the Mandalay attack here.
Yeah.
And then they go first year expansion team, a bunch of just random people just clumped together, and they go all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Unreal. Like, we had we had friends that had bet on, I think they bet like $50 on the Knights to win the cup. And unfortunately, I found this out later. It's, my dad's he's been working in casinos my entire life. I've been around casinos and betting my whole life. But the whole idea was that if you get that far with a $50 bet, that's going to pay you out something like, maybe you bet $100 or something. He should have won like 50 grand or something insane. And he got to the Stanley Cup and didn't hedge his bet. So you know how that works? Like, hedging your bet, essentially just betting the opposite team once you get there. So you bet like 20 grand on the other team, and no matter what, you're going to come out like plus 30 grand or something crazy. Yeah. So anyway.
You really got to be smart about that.
Yeah. Big time.
Like,
but
me,
anyway.
I have no knowledge on betting whatsoever, and I feel like I should at least, read a book about it,
You could do some light betting. I don't encourage it. Obviously, it's a slippery slope for a lot of people. But when you do light bets, like $5 here and there, $2, whatever, no big deal. It's just fun. You put skin in the game, and now you're paying attention to that game a little more. Makes it more exciting. So making parlay bets and stuff like that, it's very low or high risk to win for $5. Like 10 teams winning. And anyway, it's a lot of fun.
I think it was the comedian Bill Burr that said, like, oh, there's nothing like having money on a game. Like, it could be a random, like, oh, Titans, Jets. They're both like 4-12, but it's like, oh, if you have a lot of money on that game.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Fun.
The thing about hockey, though, is that I mean, any game, it's pretty much anyone's game, but football, not so much. It's like if they're, if it's the Bills versus whoever, the lowly Jets at the time or whatever, it's like, who's going to win. But hockey, it's really funny how the lowest on the totem pole can beat the best any night. It just, you walk in there and you're underestimating your opponent, and they kill you.
That's what I love about baseball too. Like,
Love
you grew up
baseball.
big hockey, I grew up big baseball. Like, any team can win on any given night because there's 162 games in a season. It's like right. Like
Right.
the Yankees are gonna play the Orioles. It's like, most likely Yankees are gonna come out on top. But every now and then, Orioles will sneak away with like a 4-2 win, and you're like, man, that sucks.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like when my dad and I talk about this a lot because we play ping pong, we play everything, and it's funny how if you're up 12-2 on someone, there's this natural human inclination to just kind of ease up.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden it's 13-10, and now you're in the game trying to maintain your score, and that guy has nothing to lose, and they're going to beat you. You have to step on the gas the whole way. You can't feel bad.
Oh, not at all.
Yeah, you know what I mean? You have
Just when you think it's over, oh, here they come.
Yeah, exactly. And now it's tied up, and now you're sweating, and you're missing serves, and they're just rocketing back at you, and now you lost.
We were talking right before. You're a big fan and friend of Chris Jericho. I'm a huge fan of Chris Jericho.
Oh, yeah.
I always say it's like this entire show I started 7 years ago will be validated the day I get Jericho on. Like, because he had his show, he had Fozzy, he was in WWE. I'm like, oh, this guy wears so many different hats.
Yeah.
But you can now bet on pro wrestling matches.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
how crazy that is?
I didn't know that. I had
So
no idea.
It's all scripted. So it all
Where-
comes down to creative booking something, and now you can bet on the matches.
So you're telling me wrestling's fake? Is that what you're telling me?
Wrestling, I mean, yeah, it's scripted, which is why it's interesting that you can bet on it. Because, like, last second before they go out there, you'd be like, oh, no, we're going to change the
Well, the
finish.
danger in that is that the people on the inside can bet. You know what I'm saying? I think that's why for years you could not do it, because a script writer can be like, I know where this is going. And, Chris Jericho's plus 500 for whatever reason, and you throw down $1,000. That's a lot of money.
Or worse off, like, a writer does put down that money because they know the finish, and then they change it at the last second. And you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah, 'cause
and
that
then you get
happens.
caught, and you're like, oh, well, you're just an idiot.
Right.
We caught you, and you're an idiot.
I did not know. How long ago did this
About a
happen?
month ago.
Yeah, wow. And because I use the betting apps called William Hill. It's like one of the more famous ones in town. But I had no idea. I'm so curious.
Mhm.
I got to tell my buddy who's a bettor and a wrestling fan.
Well, my
See what he has to
one
say.
prime example of that was like a few years ago. It was Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns for the title in the main event. All right, so it's
Mhm.
like, okay, Lesnar's like the sure bet. He's the champion. He's the guy that's over. Reigns was kind of like the up and coming guy, but they also wanted to push him. Is how they say it,
Yeah.
right? But at the same time, so the finish at the end of it, they kick the snot out of each other for 30 minutes, and at the end of it, Seth Rollins, who is the owner of the Money in the Bank briefcase, which is like you can
Yeah.
cash in the contract at any time,
Mhm.
any place for a title opportunity, comes running down the ramp, cashes it in, and makes it a triple threat match and wins the title. It's like people betting on that match can't bet on Seth Rollins cashing in the
No.
title at the end.
No,
Like,
you
what
can't.
happens?
Interesting. That's really fun. I mean, there's a thing called in-play bets where it's like the game started. Usually, historically you make bets pre-game,
Yeah.
but now you could have a game to where it's you know first period or sixth inning, wherever you're at, and it's amazing how they do it. They're so fast. Like they just change the odds. So like say the favorite is now down 3 runs. It's like now they were minus 105 and now they're plus 225 to win. You could bet on that and they come back and then they win. You make the money. Again, people shouldn't bet. So
Yeah. So you already got it figured out.
yeah.
See, I had no idea how that was going to work. You thought it out in your head, and you're like, oh, no, I
Mhm.
can see how this works.
Yeah. No, it's fun. Again, low stakes betting. But that's really crazy though. I just the idea of wrestling and those surprise moments. Like, how could you ever bet or predict that?
That's
So,
what I'm saying.
what are you
Like,
gonna do,
they're
right?
going to really screw things over.
Yeah, big
Even
time.
this Sunday at WrestleMania, I think it was Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. That's the main event. Everybody thought Cody Rhodes was going over. They put Reigns over. He's been champion for like 4 years now. It's like,
Wow.
which is nuts in this generation of pro wrestling with
Wow.
how like quickly content is consumed. Like to have the same guy for 4 years straight,
Right.
big deal, right?
Yeah, I know.
Like everybody, like if you were betting on that, like there were so many people that went home really angry. Just
Oh.
leaving SoFi Stadium, there's so many bitter people. Like, oh, that was not
Yeah.
worth the entire weekend just to see him retain.
Yeah, seriously. So, what was the guy's? It's not Seth Rollins. It's the other guy.
Logan Paul?
No, he. Hold on. He kind of. I did an interview with him once at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame years ago. He's a famous CM Punk. That's his name.
Phil Brooks.
That's his name.
Yeah. AEW guy. Well, kind of.
Did he come and go?
So he's currently contracted to them, but there was a huge backstage real life fight between him and the EVPs, and I
Right.
think they're probably going to have to release him.
I heard something about it. Yeah,
Yeah,
long time ago.
But he also like tore his ACL or something, so he was already going to be on the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
So he's still technically under contract, but I think once he's good to go, they're going to have to release him from his contract.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, he was cool.
He's one of the most polarizing pro wrestlers of all time.
I've been hearing it was because I bring it up to anybody who is way into wrestling. They're like, "Oh, dude, yeah, that guy's in hot water, but everyone loves it." Or
Exactly. Well, yeah,
you know?
he's controversial. Like he says what he wants, what's on his mind, and
exactly.
he had a huge pipe bomb promo here in Vegas at MGM in 2011, so 12 years ago, and he basically called out. He's like, Vince McMahon's an idiot. His daughter's
See, that's what I heard.
idiotic.
That's the
His
one.
doofus son-in-law is going to take over the company, and it all happened. You know, we look back 12 years later, he was right about everything that he said, despite the way he said it, with the energy that he said it, not good, and obviously got him in trouble. But he was right. Everything that he said would happen happened, which is, I think, why a lot of people resonate with him. But recently, he's kind of been the bad guy since he went to AEW and then had that brawl. Everyone's kind of like, oh, no, he's kind of a prima donna a little bit, which kind of stinks because he was everybody's hero for so long.
Yeah. I remember the only thing I really saw that I was like, oh man, this guy knows how to really push buttons was he there was a show in New York or Long Island or something, and he just started ripping into the New York Islanders hockey team on the coach,
Yeah, because
Barry Trotz.
he had the Tavares jersey on, I think, too.
Yeah, he came. Yeah, right. Is he a Chicago guy or something? Is that why? Right.
Blackhawks fan.
So funny because then the whole arena just went off on him, and it was great. It's like, dude, you're doing the thing. You're doing the wrestling thing perfectly, right?
And he wasn't even a heel. Like, so the bad guy's a heel, a good guy's a face. Like, he was a face, but he went to that town and was rivals with
They're called
a
a
guy
heel turn.
from Long Island, and he just played the heel role perfectly there.
Yeah,
like
that's
he's
so
just as good, like he's over as hell, so he can be the baby face, but he's also such a good heel because he knows how to get under people's skin.
Funny, he's a two-way player.
He's
great.
That's right. But he's a huge Chicago guy. Like if you see shows at the Allstate Arena or anywhere in Chicago, CM Punk chants. He's not even in the building. Just nothing but CM Punk chants.
That's
He just
really
takes
cool.
Takes over the entire show.
That's so fun. He's a way bigger person than I thought. I didn't expect him
Like
to
tall.
be. If I remember correctly, he was like, if I'm 6 foot, he was like 6'4", 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah. What about like built wise? Was he bigger than you thought, or was he?
I think he was. I just didn't expect him to be one of those bigger guys.
Well, that's the thing. Like the Punks and the Jerichos. Like the first time I met Jericho was at a Fozzy show, and I walked up to him. I'm like, this guy's yoked. But compared to the Cenas and the Rocks and the Triple H's, I'm like, he's nothing. But seeing him in person, I'm like, what does Cena look like in person?
Yeah, right. Yeah, just a monster.
Right?
A fun story that I heard from the road a long time ago. Some guy. It was cool because it just kind of shows that, like, Chris will throw down if he has to actually fight someone.
Oh yeah.
So I wasn't on this tour, but his band was on, and I don't know if it's some fan tried to jump onto his bus, like opened the door, got on the bus, and did something, and then ran away. And Chris was just coming onto the bus, I believe. I'll hit him up and confirm, but he legitimately chased this dude down and speared him like full blast. And the guy was removed, but it was incredible that there was no like, I need security. He's like, I am security. It's pretty impressive. Oh, dude, full blast just speared the shit out.
Because he's a huge guy too, and like being a wrestler, obviously like the moves are fixed, but like how to act in those situations.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Full blown.
No one was
take
hurt.
out the
No
guy
one was.
And tackle him.
It was just to kind of apprehend the suspect.
Well, if you spear someone and tackle him like under the waist, like
Yeah.
you could really salvage their health. Like
yeah, he didn't kill the guy. Didn't hurt
you just
the guy.
knocked the wind out of him.
Just took him out, and everyone was just like, "Bravo, man! That's respectable."
The lion heart.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah,
no
that's
walls
crazy.
at Jericho, but it was pretty cool.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah.
That's where it just gets okay. This is fake.
Yeah, right.
That didn't happen.
Right.
But that's cool to confirm that he's an awesome guy. From
Yeah,
everybody
great guy.
I hear is like the guy's just like he's go all the time, but like he seems like a really like
a good
obviously
dude.
Canadian,
Loves music.
right?
Yes, and Canadian. So
Canadian metalhead.
yeah, in the Slash band, I play with two Canadians, and so I was
Is that Todd and
Brent, yeah,
and Brent.
who both live here.
No way, dude. Everybody lives here, dude.
Everyone lives here.
Except Miles. Is Miles still in Spokane?
He's Spokane. Slash is LA.
Of course.
But the funny thing about my upbringing here, I'd always tell people on tour, like, oh, you got to move to Vegas. If you're a musician, you're a this and that. You move to Vegas, and LA is just down the street, essentially. And then the pandemic happened, and everyone's like, I'm moving to Vegas. And now I'm like, go back, because it's now we're congested. But I get it. Like that, I always told everyone, it's so much cheaper to live here. It's so much more convenient. Just it's so easy back and forth.
I think everyone just thinks, oh, the Strip. That's Las Vegas.
Everyone in the world thinks that, and I get it. It makes sense because the Strip is what we're famous for, obviously. But if you look at the Strip, and it's kind of just central Vegas. Downtown's awesome. Like the Southwest, I grew up over there, and then Northwest, like on the way to Mount Charleston, is where my wife grew up, and it's just like there's so much more that nobody would ever expect.
Mm-hmm.
Like how could you ever blame anybody? It's like there's suburbs, there's normal schools, we have everything you could ever imagine.
Suburbs, grass, mountains.
Yeah.
You're 4 hours from LA. You're 4 hours from Phoenix.
Yeah, dude, it's
right in the
easy,
middle.
and I love it. It's been so convenient, and with my career too, it's like I've never had to do a long haul. Even just to like if I live in New York, that would be kind of like I got a 6-hour flight every couple months. It's like this is just an easy drive or literally a 45-minute flight to LA.
And the weather's perfect all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
Plus
obviously,
or minus a few rainy days, but
yeah, and it's like the heat is something I don't care about. It doesn't bother me. Obviously, it's hot. If your car can't handle it, that's a problem. I understand. I grew up with certain cars that couldn't handle it, but here we are, and it's a lot easier. But it's our only natural disaster that we don't get earthquakes, we don't get tornadoes, we don't get anything crazy. It gets windy.
Have you experienced an earthquake, like even in LA? Or
I've experienced just like a little taste. It was nothing crazy, but the scary part was I was on like the 4th floor of a hotel, and I've never felt an entire building move like that. So it hit out in the water, like in the Pacific Ocean, and it just kind of blasted through the valley. And it wasn't like a full-on one. It was literally just a second. And I'm standing up, and then I just felt the whole building move. And I was like, I've never felt that in my life. And you think instantly, like, okay, I have no time to think. I have to go. Am I going in the door, or am I running to the fire escape? What am I going to do? And then it just stopped. Jesus Christ.
Was everybody around you just like, oh, that was an earthquake?
Slash, everyone's like, oh yeah, you know, it happens. But
Oh, that's a Tuesday for me.
yeah, exactly. But he also said the moment I said, dude, did you feel that? I said earthquake out loud. He goes, shh, don't talk about it. Like don't talk about it. I don't even want to think about it. You know, it's a little LA superstition. Just don't mention it. You
Yeah.
know, because they've experienced some gnarly ones, as we all know.
I got to go to Whiskey A Go Go for the first time.
Classic. I
It's
played
been
there a bunch.
a place I've wanted to go to forever. I finally got to go this past weekend. It's a great nightclub. I'm not a nightclub guy,
Mhm.
but like there's a lot of great bands.
Oh,
that
dude, it's
play there.
historical. It's so fun. I've got to play there a couple times, and it's always cool. The last time I played there, though, it was really fun. It was for Sirius XM did a thing, and we just started playing, and about 4 or 5 songs in, I looked stage right. There's like a staircase that goes up to the dressing rooms, and it's just Post Malone standing there.
Yep.
Look up and make eye contact, and he just cheers me with his beer. Okay, all right, hell yeah, dude. And then he left. And
Really?
it's just fun because that's just kind of what it is over there, especially when Slash is playing. I mean, he's obviously hometown hero, and then you know,
Will he just pop in at random place and they're like, "Oh my God, Slash from Guns N' Roses is here"?
he's pretty to himself.
Oh, he seems like a quiet guy, like a
Very
introverted
quiet.
dude.
But you know, we'll go to the Rainbow sometimes for pizza when we're like after a shoot or after something. If we're doing anything in LA, like let's just hit the Rainbow, get a pizza. You know, and they take good care of him there and it's safe.
Mhm.
You know, because Slash is one of those people who always looks like Slash. There's no incognito version of him,
It's just the hair.
and he
You
just
can't get away
refuses
with
to. He refuses to, like, you know, he's himself. He's not gonna dumb it down. That's just what he is. You know, backwards hat, glasses. It's Slash
Mhm.
always, and everyone immediately is like, dude, is that Slash? Like airports everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, funny story. Talking about Jericho, I got mistaken for Chris Jericho. Do you believe that? At an airport in Jacksonville 4 years ago.
Okay, that's hilarious.
Which is like, because I'm growing it back out, but I had like the long blonde hair, like down to here, kind of like you tied back,
Yeah.
whatever. And a guy came up to me. I was about to board the flight,
Mhm.
and he's just like, "Is it you?"
Oh,
I'm like, "Is it me? Like who do you mean?" Like I'm curious. He's like, "You're Jericho, right?"
Is it you? Yeah, that's so
and I'm a
funny.
huge Jericho fan, so I'm like, "Oh wow, this guy thinks I'm Chris Jericho." I'm like, "Dude, I'm not Chris Jericho." He's like, "But that's exactly what you would say if you weren't Chris Jericho, right?"
That's so funny.
And being a pro wrestling fan, I knew he was wrestling. It was like one of the first AEW pay-per-views coming up. He was in the main event. And I'm like, he's got a big fight coming up, though.
Yeah.
So we'll see. He's like, "So you are him?" I'm like, "No, dude, I'm not." I mean,
You're aware of what he's doing.
that
but,
dude's got like 40 pounds of muscle on me. Like,
Yeah.
I
Guy's a
can
monster.
assure you, I am not Chris Jericho. If Chris Jericho was standing in front of you, you would know it was Chris Jericho.
Right.
But I remember thinking, I'm like, dude, that guy thought I was Jericho. That's pretty cool.
That's
I'll wear
fun.
that like a feather on my cap.
Yeah, you should.
Right?
That's fun. I've never really gotten anything, but I think someone, just so funny how this all ties into wrestling, but people have called me Seth Rollins before. Like there's
kinda see it.
it's the hair and the, you know, there was in my, I guess like the brow or something. I couldn't remember, but there was one photo that someone sent me. I was like, all right, I see. I know why you say that, but in an airport or wherever, it's like I can understand why that would happen. But it's funny though when people play into it though. Like I've never done that in my life, but there's people like I've seen in town show up places that dress like Rob Zombie and
Like, don't say anything.
take all the glory. That's all on purpose. They do it, and it's amazing how people will not really fact check. They're just kind of like, oh, dude, that's Johnny Depp. That's definitely Johnny Depp. And then it's like, no, it's not. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
Mhm. Well, go to Venice Beach. You'll see like Kurt Cobain walking around.
Yeah,
Everyone's
right.
like, "It's Kurt." I'm like, "Kurt's been dead for 30 years, man."
yeah, but
not
it's Kurt.
Yeah, that's not Kurt Cobain. Michael Jackson too. It's like, oh man, this is a freak show.
Oh yeah, very Venice.
No, but that's crazy. My favorite, I think it was the Viper Room. My favorite Slash story is the time that he had to dress up on Ladies' Night to get in.
Oh, that
I
was
think
a great
he was
story.
like what 17 years old.
Yep.
And it was Steven Adler who
Mhm.
like told him like it's Ladies' Night, you got to dress up, and then he
Mhm.
left before he even got in.
Mhm.
Right? I don't know the details. Of
He
that
got
story.
there. Yeah, he got there and he wasn't even in there or something. But yeah, I heard that story. He told that on Kimmel when we played. I didn't even know that story until then. That is just the funniest thing that he would do that. You know, I'll dress up as a girl to get into this club at underage. Why wouldn't I? Just
He's like, then the dark cloud settled in above me, and I realized, oh, I'm alone.
Yeah.
Steven's not here. Nobody's here. Duff's not here.
getting hit on. Like it's got to be tough.
Oh yeah, dude. Like high skirt, all that stuff. Like going full blown into it
Mhm.
and realizing like I did this for nothing.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. But that's a good hang. I love. I'm bummed the Viper Room's going away.
Yeah. That's like a nostalgia place.
That
It's like
whole area, dude. Like I've played. Luckily, the Roxy's still around.
the Troubadour too.
Yeah, Troubadour is awesome. Like we did a thing a couple. Well, it would have been like 8 years ago or something. But we did a week where we played Whiskey, Roxy, and Troubadour.
It's a legendary weekend.
It was so fun. It was back-to-back gigs, day off, Troubadour, something like that, and super special because everyone came out. It's like the whole crowd is a name, someone you're familiar with.
Oh, in a world where like hip hop and rap have taken over in 2023 too, it's cool to see all of these rock places where you can see like up and coming rock bands trying to make it.
And it's cool because like all walks of life will play these venues too. Like trying to remember, I saw it wasn't Kimbra, but I've gone to a couple Roxy gigs just for fun, and it's just awesome. Like there's definitely a vibe in every one of those places. Right when you walk in the door, it's just you just want to take photos, you want to hang, you want to sit in the booth that Lemmy did this, and this guy did that. It's just it's just so much history.
Wasn't that Lemmy's last like his like final tribute show? Was that Whiskey? They brought in like a ton of different people.
Man, I didn't know about.
I think
that
Matt Sorum like kind of like orchestrated the whole thing. I know Slash played and Jericho sang for a song. There was just like a ton of different people probably coming in and out.
That's cool. Yeah. I remember we were in Aspen playing a gig when Lemmy passed, and Slash and him were very tight. I've had the pleasure of hanging out with Lemmy a bunch and jamming with him actually in Boston. We did a bunch, but there was a really cool story. This is years ago, but we were gonna go to Japan. We were about to go to Tokyo, and this was like day 2 of rehearsal. And Slash is like, "Yeah, come by the house, and we'll have dinner. We'll all just hang out before we go." And we get there, and Lemmy's just playing pinball. Slash is a big pinball guy. I'm becoming a pinball guy. But I walk in there, and he's just sitting there playing, not acknowledging anything. We all walk up to say hi, and he's just the sweetest man in the world. I was like, "Hey, how's you beat the high score yet?" Because I know Slash is like, he's like, "You better believe it." He's just killing it always. And then Ron Wood showed up from the Stones. It's like, it all sounds so fake and so silly.
It's just a dream.
Just for me, it was just kind of like, yeah, these are his friends. This is just kind of what it is, for Slash. This is his life.
Oh yeah, once you get to a certain point, it's like, oh yeah, my buddy, like Don Henley's coming over. It's like, what?
Yeah, excuse me?
Really?
And it's just so casual, and but you sit back and you realize like these are dudes that Slash grew up loving, idolizing. Like these are his heroes, and now they're just his buddies hanging out playing.
Well, that's
pinball.
the coolest thing when you see people like that. Like talking about, obviously, got my Foo Fighter hat on today. Talking about the Taylor Hawkins tribute show at the Forum. Dave Grohl's a guy who's met all of his heroes.
Jammed with him, wrote and recorded, did it all. It's the coolest.
Just has like documentary of film, just with everybody like playing with Led Zeppelin at Wembley Stadium.
That one, I'll never forget watching that for the first time. I was like, "Are you kidding me? This is the greatest thing I've ever seen." So I'm a huge Zeppelin fan, and I just thought I just try to, understand what that could ever feel like, what a percentage of that could feel like to be like, I'm playing in London, Wembley Stadium, playing Zeppelin songs with 2 of the guys in Led Zeppelin.
Played the shit out of the Bonham solo at the end of Rock and Roll too.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, oh dude, he did it as good as he did.
Yeah.
I'm like, I forgot how good of a drummer Dave Grohl is.
Yeah. Next level. Yeah, because Taylor sang it. I forgot.
That's right.
Right. Yeah, very cool. Just playing with Queen, playing with Paul McCartney, doing all of that. That's just next level. Like Paul's my number one. Like I have to meet him.
Yeah. Oh, that's what every musician
who
says.
wouldn't think that, right?
Yeah.
It's like who wouldn't if they could, but that's the one. Like I gotta meet him. I gotta hang out with him somehow. Because he's a Beatle. It's this band from Liverpool. It's, whatever.
I feel like you know the right people to get into the right event in the right situation.
Yeah, I've been
it's just
close.
about being intentional about it.
Yeah.
Where like my idols like Dave Grohl, Chris Jericho, like they're not obviously they still have a lot of life to live. But it's like they're getting up there, like I still have to like make it in my career to get to the point where I could interview a name like that.
Sure.
And it's like, well, I really have to work hard and get myself into a position to interview names like that and get myself in rooms with people like that.
I saw you
like
interviewed
there.
Magic Johnson.
I've interviewed big people for sure, but
incredible.
it's like I got ways to go,
That's historical though. I mean, like
Magic's a cool guy.
Yeah, that's next level. Was there anybody else that you big time for you that felt like, wow, Like, because I mean, Magic Johnson's got to be up there.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of I got to interview Bob Saget like
Wow.
2 months before he died,
Oh my
something like
God.
that. And like I watched Full House growing up. You know, like
Yeah.
all those like dumb Nickelodeon shows like Drake and Josh. I got to interview Jake Bell and Josh Peck.
Oh, cool,
Which
cool.
is I'm like, oh, cool. Those are cool childhood.
Was that
ones.
together or separately?
Separately.
Okay.
They're not like friends or something like that.
Oh,
Cheech
interesting.
and Chong
Wow.
are awesome
Legendary.
dudes. They're both in LA too, so like that's an easy. And they're so easy to get in contact with. He's like, yeah, just text my manager. We'll set it up.
That's so
He's
cool.
like, here's my number after like the first interview. So let me know when you're in town.
That's so great.
I'm like,
So
you're
easy.
Tommy Chong.
Yeah. Is that how you open the interview? Hey, man.
Basically,
You're Tommy Chong.
Hey man.
Yeah. That's
He
great.
just did that '90s show too as like an 86-year-old guy.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He played Leo in that '70s show, and now they're doing the
Oh.
remake because nobody could come up with anything original anymore. So we're making sequels to TV shows.
Right. I know.
And he's doing that like
I
at
forgot that was
86 years
happening.
old.
That '90s show. How fun. I mean, I haven't seen anything on it, but is it the same idea? Like, are they just gonna have a bunch of reprises? Like,
So it's
going
all
back?
of their kids basically. So it's like Kelso's kid, it's Eric's kid, and then they're all living in the same house with Red and Kitty, the parents. They're just
Got
older.
it. Got it.
They're like grandparents now, and they have their grandchildren.
Well, that's
in the
fun.
basement.
Is I mean, Kutcher, anybody? Are they popping in?
So the pilot episode, they all make cameo appearances.
That's good.
Yeah, of course. It's kind of like Fuller House, where they kind of like brought back the main cast every now and then.
Right.
There's
It's fun.
so
I
many
love the
shows like
nostalgia
that.
market. I love it. You know.
Like How I Met Your Father. I was a huge How I Met Your Mother fan.
Oh, there you
In
go.
the early 2000s. Now they have How I Met Your Father, and like Neil Patrick Harris is making a cameo as Barney Stinson and Kobe Smolt. So I've interviewed all of them from How I Met Your Mother too. So they're great people. But yeah, I'd say Dave Grohl, Chris Jericho. Grew up a huge baseball fan. Michael Kay, the voice of the New York Yankees,
Oh, that's cool.
is one. Howard Stern, just being like the epicenter of interviewers, would be a cool guy to talk to. I'd probably throw Slash and Myles in there too, just because I literally my entire high school was Slash featuring Myles Kennedy and the Conspirators.
It's so hard to believe. That's crazy.
It's great music.
That's awesome. I'm not saying hard to believe, like, oh, how dare you know, how could you? But it's
Yeah.
like, I just love hearing that. That's very cool because it's a specific thing. Like everyone, you know, Slash is synonymous with guns, and you know, to really dive into that solo project, that's very cool. Like I love to hear that because I loved being a part of it. You know, it's been like 11 years.
What
believe it or
was the 2018 album called?
Living the Dream.
Living the Dreams.
Yeah.
Like Call the Wild, Serve You Right,
Yeah.
Boulevard of Broken Hearts, the Great Pretender.
Yeah.
The One
first-
You Loved is Gone.
Yeah.
That's a great.
Yeah.
That's a great
good
song.
ballad. Yeah. That was the first album I ever played on with Slash. It's the first
Really?
one. Yeah.
Like studio wise.
Yep. That I was
You were
actually.
touring, right?
Yeah, I was just touring, and then like, cause I joined like at the very end of an album being done, and as time goes on, like you know, every sound check is fun because the way Slash works is that he's just never not working. He's always writing. He's always coming up with a riff.
Yeah.
So we'd go to sound check, and he gets a guitar, just plays a little bit, and then now it's a new riff no one's ever heard, plays it, and we're all just sitting there learning it, and we're all coming up with our parts right away, and that's just how we write songs, and then. It's what he usually has is a riff and then like a pre-chorus and a chorus, and we just loop it over and over, and then it turns into something, you know. And then 8 months later, whenever the tour is done, it's like, hey, here's that idea. He'll send you a demo or something. It's like, okay, cool, write your part to it or whatever. And there's been plenty of stuff where we're just hanging out, and then a brand new song just shows up. It's just fun, you know. And after over a decade of playing together, it's not that hard to. It just happens, you know.
Yeah.
You really can communicate with so little. It's amazing how that happens.
Yeah.
Like you just kind of
Just let the master work, and then you show up and you know what to do. Like everybody's got their part.
exactly. And you know, especially I think there was a lot of pressure on me early on, not because of the age thing. I mean, that definitely played into it, the difference in age. But he's the guitar player, and I'm a guitar player, right? It's like you think about how many people in this world, if you show them all these guitar players, like famous ones, how many people are gonna go, I know who that is. I know Slash, you know. So it was definitely a lot of pressure early on, but then as time goes on, it's like, oh yeah, we have our thing together. This is great, and I know where I fit. I know where this fits in the mixture, really, just of everything, you know.
I mean, you talk about like being synonymous. You're in a band with arguably the greatest rock and roll guitarist still
Yeah.
alive today.
Yeah.
And then you go and you play with Wolfgang, who's synonymous with arguably the greatest rock and roll guitarist
Ever.
of all time in Eddie Van Halen.
Right.
Like, it's like, how is that being a guitarist? Like, that's probably your dream growing up. Like, you're a musician, you get to a point where you're now in a band with a guy who's literally the greatest of all time.
Yeah, it's cool, man, because like I grew up loving Guns. I love Alice Cooper. I love Zeppelin. I love Bowie. I love it all. And then Van Halen was such a huge thing for me too. Like I wore out Van Halen 1, and then I get Van Halen 2. I'm like, dude, you got to be kidding me. This is almost even cooler. And then I just, I became a Van Halen guy, and it just all of that at the same time. It was just I think about those bands and think about how I'd want to cover those songs on stage in like a band or just wherever.
Of course.
And then you fast forward to now, like Appetite for Destruction, just learning all those songs as a young guitar player. It's like somehow being in the one band that you could see Slash play those songs with pre Guns N' Roses reunion. Like we took that so seriously. We took those parts as it's the Bible. You're like not going to take liberties on these songs.
How many Guns songs do you guys play at the Slash shows?
We used to. Now we don't do any. We used to do. Right. I mean it was like 80-20. It was like Guns and Slash solo stuff.
Yeah.
We go back and forth. But yeah, it's crazy. Like it is an interesting thing to think about. Like over the years, like yeah, this is the thing. Like I play guitar with these guys. I'm somehow synonymous with Guns N' Roses and a Van Halen. Like that's it's really cool to me because it turns out they're all great people and I've learned so much. I love all of them. They're all great people. Like both organizations are awesome. And I think that joining the band at 23 really I was raised by
dude.
It's like I learned too much. It's like incredible. Like because you walk in there thinking like, yeah, I could play guitar, and I practice all the time, and then you get there and you're like, oh, you can't just learn this stuff. Like you have to do this like live with pros to just hit that certain level, and then you're definitely faking. You're trying to fake, trying to be like, yeah, I could do it. You grow your beard out a little longer so you don't look like you're 23.
Oh yeah.
And then I learn all of a sudden. I remember a very specific kind of like, whether it was the whole tour, or just like kind of that moment where I was like, oh yeah, I know every one of these songs. I have very little pressure anymore. Like I just feel loose. And there was a very specific realization of like, yeah, I'm here. I'm supposed to be here. Mm-hmm. I do this now. This is what I do.
They trust you. It's like, oh,
100%.
Frank, can you hit this melody? It's like, hey, I got it. And you're like,
yeah.
Oh shit.
Right. No, because early on it was like having to learn. I think a lot of the stress early on came from I was touring with another band that was called The Cab that was from Vegas.
Right.
I was essentially like a fill-in gig. Like they needed someone, and then I would have been their guy, but then the Slash thing popped up. The audition popped up, and once I got the gig, I was in Singapore. I auditioned, then I flew to Singapore to do the rest of this gig in Australia and all that. I remember getting an email from Slash. It's like, hey, these are the songs we're going to work on. I was like, okay. And I've been just woodshedding, learning every single song I possibly could. But I get to that rehearsal, and I knew, like, my first rehearsal with him, I was like jet lagged. I'm out of my mind. And I still knew everything, but then, there's new songs being thrown at me, and I'm like, shit, I don't know that song. Like, now I got to learn it really fast. And it's like, that's the gig. Like, I can learn any song right now for you. No big deal. But it was the volume of it, and I felt like I was just out of my mind, tired, but I was like, all right, I got this. And it just still, I was like, man, I hope I don't screw this up. And then it all worked out. But it's like the pressure was early on, learning like 50 songs real fast, Yeah. That was tough.
Oh yeah. And I remember when they first paired up, because it was like the Slash solo album where he had like
all the
Ozzy,
guests,
he had Duff and Dave, he had obviously Myles for a few songs there.
And that's what opened the door for
right, because like they heard it, they're like, this sounds good. Like,
and he's so versatile. Pairing. He could sing everything. The whole idea was like Myles can now he could sing Guns, he could sing Axl's Register, And Todd can too. Our bass player is unreal. Mm-hmm. Like he is a lead singer. He was famous in Canada. It's like he had his own, like he was on what was the name? It's their MTV in Canada. Much Music.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was just a superstar, and so like it's amazing to the band all starts with Brent. So Brent got the call through various avenues, but he starts playing with Slash, and there's a bunch of other dudes that are in the band, and they like Brent's such a master. He's just been around the block. He's played with a lot of amazing people, And he knew right from the start. He's like, well, this guy's not gonna work. This guy's not gonna work. And he goes, I know a guy. Slash, let me call him. He'll come down and he'll jam. He knows all of Appetite for Destruction right now. Okay, bring him in. And then Todd shows up. Turns out Todd is a lead singer, can sing every harmony. He's just the full package, right? He's a great guy. And then fast forward to they did a couple tours with the current guitar player or the guitar player at the time, sorry, and then Todd and Slash, Brent, whatever, Myles, and then the next album, Slash wanted to write it with the band, and then he's like, this other guitar player's got to go, essentially, and then they had like a small audition where it was like they called this casting company almost for guitar players, for musicians.
Right.
They're like, hey, come down here and try to play or whatever. It's going to be for Slash. You got to look like this. We want this. We want this. It's so funny. I just saw this for the first time in 11 years, what the call was.
Yeah.
Todd sent it to me. He's like, look at this email. And it's like, looking for a guitar player that can do this. It's got to be rock. It's got to be this, whatever. So my Todd put my name, or Brent put my name in the hat, because it was like a guy from Puddle of Mud. It's a guy from this band, a guy from this band. Like a lot of people of note were popping in, and I showed up on Super Bowl Sunday. It was that Sunday, 2012 in February, and I just had two guitars and I just rolled in, and it was like we played Night Train, we played Paradise City, and we played a couple Slash solo songs like from that first solo album called Nothing to Say. It's like heavy one,
right?
And back from Cali as well. So,
that's a great song.
Yeah, and so it was cool as hell, because like I walked in there thinking like, all right, I could do this. Like I got to do this. I have to do it. This has to go well. And right when we started playing, I was like, this is like something I can walk away from if I don't get the gig and still be so happy that it happened. Like that was cool as hell. We just played Paradise City, and we killed it. It felt so like just good.
Yeah.
And I loved I loved the whole thing. It was just, I walked away like I could take this. And this is a core memory. This is cool as shit, and I'm good. And then fast forward to 2 days later, I'm in Allentown, Pennsylvania now. I had to fly, so I flew in Super Bowl Sunday, 6 a.m. from Toronto, get to LA, play, and at 3 a.m. I had to fly to Buffalo, New York.
That's the gig.
Yeah, dude. And then I went to Allentown, Pennsylvania, and Slash texted me from an 818 LA number. Hey, it's Slash. I'm going to call you tomorrow. Are you free? I was like, yeah, call me whenever. He's like, I'll call you at 2. So he calls me, and hey, it's Slash. I was like, what's going on, dude? Like, this is funny. Like, this is ridiculous. So he's like, by unanimous decision, we want you in the band. Like, how do you feel about it? I was like, okay.
Let me check my schedule real quick.
Yeah.
You're just like,
nah, I was thought about it. I'm good. But what happened was something that if anybody that's listening ever is in a situation similar, it's like you should, I think it's important to never let anybody see you sweat for a lot of reasons. But in this instance, he said, so yeah, the tour will start in March or whatever. Do you need any gear? Like, do you need any extra amps or like guitars? And I'm like, nope, I'm good. And I only had like 2 guitars, 1 amp that were tour quality, like good enough, when I needed 6 guitars for 2 rigs. So I needed 6, and then 2 amps. I needed that much, like, just to do the tour. And I scrambled and found, like, through friends and avenues to, like, loan guitars, borrow guitars, buy guitars, and then, because, that's a lot of money, like, that you just can't, you know what I'm saying? Why didn't I just say,
he would have taken care of it.
Oh, dude, like, Marshall, Gibson,
Yep.
hook it up. But I said no, and then I found my stuff and did it anyway. And now I look back, I was like, why didn't I just say yes? Like,
it wouldn't have made a difference at all.
But it was a lesson learned, and I made a lot of friendships by finding those guitars, and now Gibson and I are just like super tight. Marshall, I play orange now, but anyway, it was just so funny, like the idea of like just do not let him.
Do not, yeah.
It's
like you got the gig, don't say
exactly.
anything
Even though I
like,
could,
oh yeah, can you give me this?
Yeah, I should have just been like, yeah, dude, sure. I mean, I'll take what you can give me, And then luckily, his manager still did hit up Gibson a little bit. Like they gave me two guitars or something to loan. It's funny because they were like factory seconds, so they weren't great guitars, but it was like just enough as backups. Like I needed it just to get on that tour, right? But that was 11 years ago. It's just so crazy. Like
at 23 years old too. That is crazy.
Yeah, because they were all at least 44 or 45.
They're already legends. They're
Yeah.
already known. Like
That's what I'm saying.
Slash. It's Myles Kennedy.
And he
know?
took
like,
he really took a chance. Like I think about that. Like if I was in their position and like have been touring since before I was born, like what experience does this kid have? Like, can he hang? Like what's he gonna be like? Is he gonna be a clown and like just think, oh, this is a touring rock band. I gotta get hammered, I gotta do this, I gotta be a liability, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like that's never who I was anyway. But a lot of people don't realize how much of being a good person and being fun to live with on a tour bus in hotels, and it's like all of that is so much more a part of the pie chart of getting the gig than the ability almost.
Yeah.
It's like if you can play and you're a good person, that's all that matters. It's like you can be less than, I think. In a lot of situations, people will be like, I mean, I don't know about the Slash situation, but it's like certain things like shows in Vegas. Like if this person can't dance that well, but they're awesome and motivated, like now we can craft them into our like style.
Exactly.
Same with like a chef, where it's like, yeah, hey, this is your first time, you're a dishwasher, but you're motivated. Like we could train you the right way, you know?
Mm-hmm. It's like the old quote, like hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Yeah,
Almost like
totally.
kind of like in the same realm there, where it's like all you have to do is be intentional about what you want, ask for the right advice, and actually apply it. It doesn't matter how talented you. It doesn't matter like you being 23 years old, like you said. What like people from like Puddle of Mud were auditioning, like other probably big names that they could have gone with.
A lot of people I don't even realize were on it. I found out later. I was like, whoa, like they were there, and then it worked out. And I think and it's Slash is also a guy who doesn't really let everybody in. It's like he's a very quiet guy. He's reserved. He's wearing the shades all the time for a reason. But he's after years and years, you realize he's such a good dude. He's so giving, just cool as hell.
Do you call him Slash?
Yeah, everyone calls him Slash.
Really?
His kid, his girlfriend, everyone calls him Slash.
Really? So
Yeah.
it's basically his permanent name.
It's his name.
I remember like reaching out to his team when I like first started this show. I'm like, I want to get all my heroes on the show. I looked up his name, Saul Hudson. I'm like, Mr. Hudson.
Yeah.
Like I wonder if anybody's ever even.
I think the only people that ever call him that were maybe his mother, but like, or the bank. That's it. Like,
oh, of course.
Businesses. That's the only way you're ever seeing that, or he's ever seeing it, because he will tell you just Slash. Call me Slash, because people will say they'll call him Saul, and it's just like, no, my name's Slash. And I'm trying to think of other people. There's a couple of producers that we've worked with, and one of them's name is Elvis, and it's funny because Slash wouldn't call him Elvis at first, and it's like, but your name's Slash, so you should be able to call this guy Elvis. Like, use his nickname, or use his stage name. It's fine.
Elvis is a tough name to have, dude.
Yeah.
There's only one Elvis.
Yeah, I know, right? That movie was good, by the way.
I thought it was the best movie of the entire 2022 year in cinema.
That was fun.
There's so many people that I talked to that are like, I didn't like it. I guess
it's artsy. I get why they'd be like, oh, it's weird, but it's like it's still so like captivating.
It's more so about like the corruption of his Colonel Tom Parker, Tom Hanks's character.
Yeah.
But to me, like as a music fan who knew like I know the history of Elvis, right? You as obviously a music enthusiast, like I feel like it was in our wheelhouse as opposed to people who just don't know the story of Elvis.
Yeah. I can understand how it would be too artsy for a lot of people in a way, because Baz Luhrmann and all that. Like it was fun. I watched on the plane to Europe on that last tour to Europe, and it was nice. It took about a good 3.5 hours out of the flight.
Right.
But that was a special one, man. That was great acting.
Like it really shows you like when you hit a certain level of fame, like what the business behind it is, right?
Big time. I mean, it sucks. Like I'm a huge Michael Jackson fan. Like I grew up with Michael Jackson. It's like you think about those superstar people, like Paul McCartney seemed to avoid it, but with the horrible upbringing and all the the backstory with Michael and everything that happened in the future, that's all terrible, right? It's like it's all bad. You just think about if you watch any like classic video or anything of him, you're just like, man, you can't do anything. You can't leave. You cannot go anywhere. Like. So I don't know if you knew this, but like in Vegas, he was here for a while.
Living here?
He was supposed to do a residency. Yeah, who isn't here? But he ended up. He would show up places in a wheelchair and like a COVID mask, just like a little surgical mask, aviators, and like a crazy trucker hat with a hoodie over it. He would just show up in the most like obvious incognito like thing where it's like. Everyone knows that's like you're a beacon now. People are like, "What is that guy's deal?" And then everyone realized slowly, like, "Oh, that's Michael Jackson."
Yeah.
I used to be a stagehand for a magic show in town, the Flamingo, and I was hanging out backstage. We just set the show, and the showrunner comes up. She's like, "Michael Jackson's on his way. You cannot say anything. Don't tell the media. Don't." I'm like, "Okay." This is before Instagram and all that. So like,
Right.
I don't care. I was like, I'm not going to tell anyone, but I want to meet him if we can. And then the show goes dark, and he just walks in with like 10 security guards, all of his kids, and everyone's wearing a hoodie. He's wearing a hoodie, no wheelchair, but he's just hanging out, watching the show, clapping. And the lights went up one time as the magician was going to talk about something, and he just took his menu and just held it over his face like that. It's just so funny, man. Like, I can't imagine that lifestyle. That's just got to be so dehumanizing, right? Like, you just can't do anything.
I don't know if anybody's that famous anymore.
Not right now.
I mean, there's big names.
Yeah.
Like, I always look at a person like Billie Eilish, who's just so young in the game and so famous.
Rabid fans. That,
but at the same, and she has her unique look. Like, everybody kind of like, there's young girls out there kind of.
Yeah, you think about it, it's like
thing.
massive people like Taylor Swift.
Okay,
it's like they still they just don't have that. I don't think it would be the same. Like where the Michael thing was global. I mean, those are obviously global artists, but Michael was so different. Like in Paul McCartney, it's like people are like that, but it's still, I think it's chilled out. It was never like Michael. That was a whole other world.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if Michael Jackson was still alive, he'd still have that same stigma around him.
Yeah,
like,
it's crazy,
God,
dude.
It's Michael.
We played that Wembley Arena that he was supposed to do his residency in, and I just wonder what that would have been like, if he would have ever continued. Because he always expressed, he's like, I don't like touring because I can't sleep, I can't do this, I can't do that. It's tough. It's like, I feel you. I know what that's like, but I don't know what Michael Jackson can't sleep experience is like. That's got to be a whole other world.
Well, that was going to be like his farewell. I mean,
that was it. He was
talk
50
about
years
a
old.
Farewell tour, right? But
right.
like those can go on forever. But that was his farewell tour at 50. And
right. He was only 50 years old, and it's so hard to believe. But in that arena, they had his dressing room, and it's really fascinating because it had like a handprint, his handprint. There's a whole other key code to get in, but it's like it had multiple layers to it. It just keeps going. Yeah. It's like there's a hidden bookcase. Is it hidden? All this crazy stuff. It's nuts. Yeah.
I've been to Neverland in Santa Barbara once, and there was like caution tape, like really old beat up caution tape just in the driveway. I'm like, man, they really haven't.
That's creepy.
They haven't even cleaned the place up, have they?
Wow.
Like, this is kind of like an abandoned.
That's fascinating.
Treasure here.
Yeah.
Like who's inside? Like, I don't even want to go inside.
Yeah, I know.
Like, it's kind of creepy.
That's crazy. You could just go there. You just pull up to it. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
it's like a touristy location. People can see, take pictures.
Yeah. Oh, Prince is another one of those where, I mean, he still had that mania about him. Like everyone loved him, and it's so hard to believe he was gone, or that he is gone. Like we went to his house. We got to go to Paisley Park.
That's cool.
Myles and I. It was so fun. We a friend of ours used to be a tech for Prince, like a kind of an assistant, and so he hooked up a VIP tour. So we just kind of walk in there, and they take you into certain studios that no one else gets to go into. And there's a purple ping pong table, and me and Myles, we got to hit on this. Like, can we hit on this? And the tour guide said, yeah, one sec. Gives us paddles, gives us a purple ball. Just so cool. Like, just to say that we did that. But that he was just crushing people on that table.
Oh, my God.
He was like the most competitive.
It wasn't easy on anybody.
No.
Sure.
Did you ever hear the Jimmy Fallon story?
I've heard it before. I don't remember it. Do you remember it?
The short story was that he just kept...
It was like he was in a limo, and then like the limo door came down. He's like...
Yeah, pretty much. Like the whole idea is that Prince's people reached out, and they're like, Prince is going to call you or whatever. They're going to have you come down. He wants to meet at, I guess Susan Sarandon has a ping pong place in New York. I don't know. But it was like one attempt at doing it, and it failed. And then eventually he gets a call, like Jimmy Fallon's kid was just born or something, and it's like, Prince wants to play. And he's like, okay. So he goes down there. And they show up, go in the basement, and Prince already has a paddle. He's like, okay, we ready? Let's go. And so they play. And he said, like, Prince, like, just right off the bat, just just aces him. It's over. So he ends up hitting the last shot, and then the ball goes away. Jimmy
and he like goes to pick it up, and he's gone.
Prince is gone. And then Questlove tells the story that as Quest was pulling up, the limo was there, and Quest went up to the limo, and Prince is like, he rolls his window down. Quest's like, what happened? How'd it go? And he's like, ask your boy. He just left.
The window rolls up.
Yeah. So great.
He just disappears like that too.
Yeah, just so genuinely cool. Like that's cool. I
Oh, that's
love it,
so
man.
cool, dude.
I became a big Prince fan over the years. Like I wasn't raised on Prince, and then I just became that. Like, 'cause just the fact that he played guitar too, he does it all. He's just the shit.
What's crazy for me, like obviously, I think the name Michael Jackson rung a bell, but I didn't really listen to his music until after he died because I was 9 years old when Michael Jackson died,
When
and
were you
then
born?
98.
Oh, okay.
So when
Cool.
Michael Jackson, I was 9. That was in 2009. So maybe 10 years old, and then Prince when I was in high school, he died. I didn't know who Prince was. I never listened to a Prince song at all
Oh,
until he
wow.
died.
Wow.
And I'm like, like, and it was a big deal,
I'm sure
right?
there's plenty of songs that when you hear them, you're like, "Oh, I know this." You've
Maybe,
heard it
yeah,
around. You've heard 1999. You've heard like Little Red Corvette. You've heard it around you and didn't
yeah.
really.
But
You
you
could
didn't
put the
realize,
name
oh,
to it.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I remember, I think it was Purple Rain, obviously too. I'm like, wow,
Mhm.
what a great song, especially like in that middle part with those melodies, and it's
Oh,
like,
dude, legendary.
I'm like, damn,
He
like I
played
would
the
have
Super
loved to
Bowl.
see these guys live.
Mhm. Oh, I can't imagine. Like, I never got to. And the other thing is that Prince did a residency in Vegas for a long time, and I didn't go. I had no idea, and he would do this thing. Like, he's historically like, if he ever plays somewhere, he'll show up and play a venue near there for about 4 hours till 4 in the morning. He'll just show up and do a private show or a secret show and would just play because that's what he did. That's what he loved to do. And I'm so bummed I missed out on that because that was just like when you hear the stories, like at the Rio, he would just go down there. That's where his residency was, but there was a
Mhm.
small club in the back. Like it was just not much bigger than this essentially. And he would just go out there and jam. And if you, I just love those. You had to be there. Like if you happen to be there, you witness history. You know, the Rolling Stones do that all the time.
Oh yeah.
Do like a secret show. You'll hear like the word of mouth of like, oh, the Stones are gonna do a secret show at the Whiskey or something like that, the Palladium, and then all of a sudden there's tickets available like an hour before the show, and then you get this private, cool Rolling Stones experience, which I love.
Wow.
So cool.
You
Oh, and
don't you don't get that with people these days.
no, no. And that reminds me. So, two other people that live in Vegas: Billy Gibbons,
Oh really?
ZZ Top, and Geezer Butler, Black Sabbath.
I feel like I knew Geezer lived here. That's crazy.
Trying to remember who else though. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, I mean, we've pretty much narrowed it down, but there's gonna be more. You know.
People are Mark Wahlberg just moved here,
Yep.
I think.
He's always at the F-45s. Like
Of
everyone's like he's
course.
there.
Of
Yeah.
course. He always swings by with his content creating team, and
Yes, I know. It's so funny. It's always the camera on him.
yeah, dude. He's probably at some point gonna hit up Hard Hat.
I'm sure he will.
When did you start that?
Hard Hat, we opened up August 28th.
Last year?
This last year, yeah.
No way.
And the process started in last April, so about a year ago. And now it's so cool, man. It's one of the 3 oldest bars in Vegas. It's from 1962. And it was just I just love it because once we took over, the amount of people that would just come up and tell a story. Oh, my dad did this, or I did this, and I used to live on the street right behind it, and Billy Gibbons was just there the other day, and he told a great.
Nice.
He came up to me, he's like, "Man, congrats on the hard hat. You used to get stabbed on the way in and stabbed on the way out." He goes, "It seems like it's a little better." I was like, "We could stab you if you want. It's fine."
Yeah. Bring
But
back old times, tradition.
yeah, but just so cool, man. Like I've always wanted to own anything in Vegas like that.
But I
So
feel like, especially in today's world, owning like a dive bar or a restaurant or a sports bar,
yeah.
like there's a lot of people that'll be like, oh, for the tradition to say, like you see it in like TV shows and sitcoms, like, oh, it'd
Mhm.
be so cool to own my own bar.
Oh yeah,
Then there's people who have worked in bars, or I've heard just horror stories too.
yeah. It
So it's like,
depends.
how is it?
It's great. I mean, we've had no craziness. There was one moment that right before we opened, but it didn't matter.
Yeah.
But it's like it's just so fun because I love this town more than anywhere in the world, and I've been a lot of places, you know. And I think that I believe in Vegas, and a lot of people growing up never really understood what Vegas was about because I grew up with a show business kind of family. Like my mom was on the strip as a like she danced in shows, and now she produces shows. She's
Yeah.
got shows on the strip, and my sister and my stepfather as well, and my dad has worked. I've been in casinos my whole life. Like I grew up in the Riviera on the Frontier, and it's just I love this town, and I got to experience that. And a lot of the kids I grew up with didn't. I don't think they
Yeah.
understood how cool Vegas really was, and all I wanted to do was be a part of it. Like I want to be on the strip working. I want to do stuff like that. Like I was gonna be a Cirque du Soleil guitar player before I went on tour with the Cab. So I was just gonna be a part of the Elvis show, and I'll never forget the just a quick aside is that a friend of mine, he's like a legendary Vegas guitar player. I told him my options. I was like, I could play for Cirque, and I could get health benefits and make a wage and quit working retail.
Yeah.
Or I can go on tour with this band for 2 weeks and then see how it goes. And he's like, Frank, the Vegas gig will always be there. He's like, that's a trap. He goes, it's awesome for the people who want it, like who have retired or not even retired. Like you just live here and it's
Right.
easy. But he's like, you have to go on tour. You have to experience that. I was like, okay. And then here we are. Which again, that advice was huge, like just massive. Because even on the first week of the tour, I was like, I don't know if I want to do this with any of this. And then 2 weeks goes by, I'm like, I love this. So just kind of seeing it through was the lesson there. But
Yeah, of course.
but anyway, back to that. The Vegas thing is that I've always loved it, and I think that over the last couple decades, people have really found what makes Vegas special. Because everyone's like, oh, "There's no culture, there's no culture." It's like, dude, you just don't know. You have no idea. It's like you're not out there. You're not downtown where it thrives. The artists, everything, and then there is the Vegas strip culture that my sister and I grew up in, and it's like we like the cocktail waitresses and the coffee and Baileys and the scent of that, all the basic things that just are so Las Vegas. Like I love it. I love it so much. So having a bar is just the coolest thing because now I get to take care of those industry workers. It's like we're right off Industrial, which is like if you're on the strip, Industrial is just right there. You just get on.
Right.
We have amazing pizza and we always try to take care of any of the performers. Like we have dancers, we have everybody show up after 11:30. It's great. It's my favorite thing ever.
How late do you guys stay up?
It's 2 a.m.
Okay.
Sunday through Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, 3 a.m. But we'll stay open as long as there's people there.
Of course.
So, but it's a lot of fun, dude. And I have a lot of cool things planned. Like I do want to do a massive show out in the parking lot at some point with some legit people. So, and we have the room for it, and we have the means of building a stage. So, whenever that happens, it's gonna be cool.
That'd be incredible.
Yeah. No, I'll let you know.
I would definitely be there for that. I definitely want to check it out because I'm here almost every weekend. I'm like, once I talk to Frank, I got to hit up the Hard Hat Lounge.
Oh, dude, you gotta get a pizza. There's a lot of things you gotta do. I'm happy to help. Happy to let you know.
Oh yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you coming in today. I'm glad we were able to set this up finally here at the beautiful Blue Wire Studios at the Wynn in Las Vegas. This was episode 655 of the podcast, guys. Remember to comment, like, and subscribe on our YouTube channel at Jack O'Hara TV. Follow Frank at Frank Sidoris. Where can we follow the Hard Hat? Hard Hat LV?
Hard Hat Lounge LV. Yep.
At Hard Hat Lounge LV. Go check out the podcast, guys. Again, comment, like, and subscribe at Jack O'Hara TV. Check it out. Oh, but I've been waiting.